Bonjour, hello to IEAP-1 student. Welcome to the Online PUC Classroom. My name is Sereyvoleak. Today I am going to explain you the adverb of frequency to you all. You may have learned or you will soon learn this grammar point from your teacher. This explanation is supplementary to your teacher's lesson. So how do we use the adverbs of frequency? We use the adverbs of frequencies to tell us how often something happens. Or it is the answer to the question, how often? For example, how often do you have breakfast at home? How often do you have breakfast at home? The answer: I always have breakfast at home. I always have breakfast at home. Or, I sometimes have breakfast at home. So these are all the answers to the question, how often? Today we will talk about 7 adverbs of frequency. So let's start. The word always. So always tells us about something happens all the time. If I say, I always have rice for breakfast. I always have rice for breakfast. It means that I have rice all the time for breakfast. Now let's move on to the word almost always. So almost always means that we talk about something that happens almost all the time. If you have breakfast at home for 6 days a week, you can use I almost always have breakfast at home. Now let's move on to the next adverb of frequency. The word usually and often tells us about something happens many times. If you do something for about 5 times or 6 times a week, you can say, I often or I usually. The same example, I often or I usually have breakfast at home. Now, let's go to the next adverb of frequency. Sometimes. So sometimes describe the action that happens for 50% of the time. If you do something for about 3 or 4 days a week, you can use sometimes. I sometimes have rice for breakfast. I sometimes have rice for breakfast. The next one, hardly ever. So hardly ever is the adverb of frequency, tells us about something happened for few times. For example, I hardly ever visit my parents. I hardly ever visit my parents. Mean only once or twice a year you visit your parents. Let's move to the last adverb of frequency, never. As you can see, it is 0% of the time. So it refers to the action that does not happen. I never have soup for breakfast. I never go out with my friends. So they are all the actions that do not happen. Alright everyone, so here's the meaning of the adverbs of frequency. Now let's talk about the position of the adverb of frequency. So let's take a look at the 2 examples on the board. The position refers to where the adverb of frequency is in a sentence. Let's start from example number 1. I always exercise on Monday. I always exercise on Monday. Sentence number 2. He usually goes out with his friend. He usually goes out with his friend. So tell me, where are the adverbs of frequency in these 2 sentences? Very good. So the adverb of frequency number 1 is always. The adverb of frequency in sentence number 2, usually. So where is the adverb of frequency in a sentence? In this position, the adverb of frequency is always before the main verb or the main subject. it is before the main verb or the main action. Just like the example here. I always exercise on Mondays. As you can see, the word always is before the main verb, exercise. So that is all for the first position. What about number 2? So position number 2, where is the adverb of frequency in the sentence? First, I want you to look at the example. Here is the example. So, she is never late. She is never late. Sentence number 2. They are always happy to see me. They are always happy to see me. So this example, please tell me, where are the adverbs of frequency? So in sentence number 1, never is the adverb of frequency. What about sentence number 2? Always is the adverb of frequency. So where are they? In these sentences, the adverb of frequencies are after the verb be. So the second position, the adverb of frequency, it is after the verb be. So, am, is, or are. You can see from this example, she is never late. You cannot say she never is late. This is wrong. So the correct answer, she is never late. They are always happy to see me. You cannot say they always are happy to see me. Alright, I hope you get this position of the adverb of frequency. Finally, let me tell you the exception. So what are the exceptions? From what we talked today, we use the adverb of frequency before the main verb or the main action. Number 2, we use this after the verb be. But for the exceptions to this rule, usually and sometimes can begin a sentence. For example, he sometimes exercises on the weekend. He sometimes exercises on the weekends. So you can also use sometime at the beginning of the sentence. Sometimes he exercises on the weekend. Sometimes he exercises on the weekend. Alright guys, so let's check how much do you understand from this lesson. I will give you some time to complete the adverb of frequency in this practice. So let's start. Now let's begin. Alright, so let's take a look at example of practice number 1. So we have, we blank often watch the movie at 6. So what is the answer? The answer is we often watch the movie at 6. We use the adverb before the main verb. So the adverb of frequency is often and the main verb is watch. Let's go to number 2. I blank sometimes go shopping after work. So what is the answer? The answer is I sometimes go shopping. I sometimes go shopping after work. Sometimes is the adverb, go is the main verb. Let's go to number 3. Our dad blank never get off work before 5. So the answer is, we have the adverb, never. The main verb, get off. If you notice this, the subject is our dad. So it is the third person singular of the subject he. So we add letter S to the main verb gets. So the answer is, our dad never gets off work before 5. Let's move on to number 4. The baby blank always be hungry. If you notice this, we don't use the main verb, but we use the verb be. So what is the answer? As what we learned, we use the verb be. We use the verb be before the adverb of frequency, or we use the adverb after the verb be. So the baby is always hungry. Let's go to the last exercise. She never be happy when it rains. So the answer is, she is never happy when it rains. Alright guys, that's all what we have today. I hope you have learned something useful from this lesson. You may have more practice from your teacher. Stay safe and enjoy studying via the online PUC Classroom.